Well, guys, here we go again with the double standards based on what classification you fall into, what political party you fall into, or anything like that. It would seem that our very own David H. Chipman, who has been more recently nominated to be director of the ATF, has stepped in a little bit more of it, if you know what I mean. David Chipman, of course, is a known liar. When he was pressed in Senate hearings, some stuff came out. He had actually lied before in a forum type operation where he was asked about 50 cals being legal to citizens, plain old people like us. He made the comment that he did not feel like that we should possess them as plain old regular ordinary people because they had been used in an attempt, or not an attempt, in a successful attempt, I should say, during the Branch Davidian attack where the FBI and the ATF burned a whole bunch of people, men, women, and children to the ground. He made the comment that the Branch Davidians had used 50 calibers to shoot down at least one Huey helicopter, which is a complete and total lie. No Huey helicopter was hit by a 50 caliber. There was actually no sign, proof, or even a report of a 50 caliber being used by the Branch Davidians in the Waco massacre. So that was an outright lie, a proven lie, definitely a falsehood on his part. So the guy's, he's known for being a liar. But he's also apparently the fair-haired boy of the ATF and the government in general. You know, a lot of these people kind of like a Hunter Biden thing where he can use the N-word and nothing ever happens to him. Same thing with David Chipman. David Chipman appears to be in that group of people who have arrived, that they're basically untouchable. He can do whatever he wants and nothing happens to him. The same can be said for the information that just came out. The information that just came out, he had made a comment to Senator Ted Cruz that his personnel file was still under lock and key by the federal government. The federal government had not relinquished that yet for people to read. Now, there's a reason for that. Guys, my personnel file anywhere that I've ever worked is not under lock and key. I don't care who sees it. You know why? I don't have any claims of racism or lying or being sexist or anything like that in my personnel file. There are reasons why your personnel files are locked up by a particular organization. It's because they don't want anybody else to see what's in there. That is the case now. People have requested to see the personnel file of David Chipman. The ATF will not relinquish that. The federal government is keeping under lock and key. So FOIA requests were submitted to release that. Now, a FOIA request has to be granted. It has to be. Unless there's classified information in there that the general public should not be privy to, it has to be, even if it's a redacted version of his personnel file, it has to be released. Redact it if you want, but release it. The ATF won't release it. Here we go again. Another chosen organization that doesn't have to play by the rules that all the rest of us do. So there is a standing FOIA request. It states that on information and belief, complaints were filed against David H. Chipman while he was an agent in Detroit and involved allegations of professionally impermissible statements alleging inability of minority agents to succeed on standard examinations without cheating. Okay, if what I'm about to say here is incorrect, the ATF has the information to prove me wrong, and I will admit that I'm wrong. But since they are holding on to this and not going along with the FOIA request, I'm going to tell you what it most likely says based on the wording here. David Chipman thinks black people are too stupid to pass these tests without cheating on them. Basically what it says. I know there are other minorities, but I would say odds are the minorities that they're talking about right here are not Asian people and not Hispanic people. Just a hunch. I'm just going to go on a limb here. Again, if I'm wrong, they can prove me wrong by providing the information from Chipman's personnel file to state that I'm not wrong. However, I'm pretty sure this is Chipman's way of saying black people are stupid. Black people cannot pass this test unless they cheat on it. That's about the most racist thing that I've ever heard somebody say, and they weren't fired for it. It's covered up. In fact, he gets, they're trying to give him a promotion to run the ATF. Not that we ever expected the ATF to be fair and good people, but they're going to run. They want this known racist to run I don't care if it was Hispanics or Asians. He thinks somebody is too stupid to pass a test without cheating on it. Talk about not judging a person by the content of their character, and instead by the color of their skin. So David Chipman thinks all minorities are too stupid? Or is there only certain minorities that he thinks are too stupid? Something made them think that he's simply talking about minorities because they put it in here. And it's obviously multiple people because it's not a singular, it's a plural. Complaints were filed. That's pathetic. Now, granted, Joe Biden is a known racist. Joe Biden's one of his best friends and his known mentor was a Klansman, Robert Byrd. And Joe Biden didn't want inclusion of minorities in white schools, said that they would be jungles if they did that. Segregation laws. Joe Biden had his own opinion that was completely racist on that. So, I mean, I don't see Joe Biden getting mad at David Chipman for saying this because Joe Biden is a known racist. But I would think that somebody would want to cancel Mr. Chipman, since that seems like the trendy thing to do right now. Anytime somebody does something that doesn't align with everybody else in terms of race or transgender or whatever, you get canceled for it. This is a cancelable offense. Now, he goes on to say that on information, or this report says, on information and belief, complaints were filed against David H. Chipman that involve allegations of sexual harassment of ATF employees. So the man's not only a known racist, he's also a known sexist, and he's a known liar. I don't think any of us, especially anyone watching this, has any unrealistic views of ATF employees. We don't put them on pedestals. We know what they're made of. Many of us have dealt with them. We've talked to them. We've seen their cute little worksheets that they put out. We've seen the wording. We've seen the trickery that they try to implement in some of their wording and rulings and all that. We don't have any strange or unusual expectations that are lofty for ATF agents. However, this is stooping to a new low. This is who somebody, the federal government, the president of the United States, wants to run a federal organization that does not deal necessarily with the law. They deal with rules and interpretation and opinions of those laws. So the man is proven to have a problem against minorities and women already. Now you want this man to run a federal organization based on opinions and feelings? How do minorities feel about this? Does a minority actually feel like they would be treated fairly by a man who runs an organization that has said things like this? I would like to hear from minorities on that. I don't care what race you are. I'm not, you can be any minority out there, black, Hispanic, Asian. Give me your thoughts on this. I would really like to know how you feel. Do you honestly feel that an agent from the ATF being led by a man who is a known racist, or women in this case, do you honestly feel that the man that's a known racist and a known sexist will treat you and your family and anyone you know fairly if he becomes ATF director? Everything starts at the top. Attitudes start at the top. That's how people implement, in many cases, the attitude of the people who are leading them. So people will be absorbing this and becoming the same kind of attitude. David Chipman ain't going to have a problem with you saying that black people are too stupid to pass a test without cheating on it. So you can actually get away with doing that and saying that. So you actually will, at some point, people are going to project that onto their own job, which means out in the field, that's the type of judgment that's going to be taking place and playing into an ATF agent's mind whenever he does encounter a minority or a female of some sort. That's scary to think that, guys. Already David Chipman thinks he's in a class above everybody else. So all of us are presumed to be beneath him and below him. But it's even worse when you drill it down to actual races and actual sexes like that, to know that's how this man feels about people.